Hi, my name is Jim Nowak. I'm the president and the co-founder of the Z Foundation. I'd like to welcome everyone to this short presentation. I'll talk a little bit about the Z Foundation, and I'll introduce Lisa Durant from High Country Capital Management, and she'll be able to share some of the opportunities and challenges around the tax implications as we close out 2021 and go into 2022, and also share about Giving Tuesday. So Z Foundation has been based in Ridgeway, Colorado for the last 24 years. And one of the questions that comes up quite often is, what does dZi stand for? Well, it's dZi, but it's pronounced Z. And it's small d, capital Z, small I. And it's a Tibetan word, and it stands for one of these black etched beads. And these are given from one person to another in the Himalayan region, and they bestow health and protection on the wearer. And that's what we try to do with our work in Nepal. We focus on building community capacity through improving basic infrastructure and agriculture and education. And in this picture, you see this plastic pipe being spooled out for a gravity-fed water system that comes down and it gets buried in the ground to water taps that are located in the communities. Usually what happens is a clean spring is fenced in and to keep the animal and the human waste out, and then it is piped down into the community. So we've had 34 major drinking water projects, and actually we've created 470 taps like this one where these children are. And this really helps specifically girls and women not have to walk long distances to gather water, and girls have a chance to study and work on their schooling, and women are able to have much more of a voice in the local community. Plus, obviously, sanitation, clean water for drinking, and just also being able to water plants in their kitchen gardens in these communities. We also have built a lot of toilets over this area here. We've built 3,300 toilets, and again, these are individual toilets with a small septic system. And again, keeping the animal and the human waste out of the drinking water is a huge health advantage in all these communities. Bridges are very, very important. This looks like kind of a benign stream right now, but this whole drain is completely filled when the monsoons are raging in June, July, and August. We built 22 of these bridges. We have engineers that walk from project to project and make sure everything gets built by the communities appropriately. And these bridges are truss bridges that get carried in on people's backs and then assembled on site. And for example, this is just some women bringing fodder back for their animals in the morning. It allows children to have safe access over these drainages and these rivers and streams. It also allows people to have safe access if they're injured to get to some sort of medical care. Animals to get to market is just really a big deal in all these communities that everyone is moving around by foot. Another component that we've seen great help in is these irrigation systems. And this is kind of an elevated irrigation system. We've opened up 440 acres of new land where people can grow more food for food security and, again, diversity. We've built a lot of schools over the years. We built 56 schools like this. And these schools, as you see, are quite nice looking, but they're also earthquake resistant. The white bands that you see that are painted white are actually solid concrete with rebar in them that are bond beams that hold the building together. And then all the bricks are like a cinder block that's made, and it literally looks like a big Lego, and they're stacked together and they lock together. These schools are incredibly strong. And also we put skylights in for light and really improve the ability. We also put carpet in these schools and low benches for children, and really working on our early childhood development. But one thing that overlays over the top of all of this is the agriculture. We work with all of the 44,000 people in the communities that we serve, and we work on increasing that food security and diversity. As you see, here's a greenhouse, or they would call it a hoop house, with tomatoes that are about to blossom. We see large leafy greens being grown like this that you would consider that it must be grown in some place like Alaska with 24-hour light, but it's not. And also, we've worked with these communities, and they're all organic, and cauliflower, which they used to have a tremendous difficulty growing, and now we have all these pesticides that we are organic through different types of peppers and things that we've learned about. And then the last thing is that we track all the money financially through these communities. This is a public audit sheet, and actually in the left-side photo, you'll see a gentleman with a cell phone taking a picture, and he'll probably take it home and show it to other people. And these are the finances for this project. Could be a water project, could be a bridge, could be a school. And every bag of concrete, every piece of roofing tin or piping that comes in is listed. What the skilled masons are making and the carpenters are making, it's all listed. And then when 80% of the project has been completed, there's usually a public audit, and what happens is that the construction committee for the village and our staff, they answer all the questions to any of these community members. This is a small two classroom school, about that if the project was carried out appropriately, and that none of the funds are missing or none of the materials are missing. And so once that's completed in the community, they sign their mark in black magic marker around the border of this banner, and it goes back to the Kathmandu. We release the last draw of money. We are also, the second point is we're also audited by the Nepal government, because we're registered with Nepal government as an INGO that allows us to wire money into the country through their bank system. So they audit us. And then third way is every year we have an external audit, and we work with Geldman, Rosenberg, and Friedman out of Bethesda, Maryland. This firm audits 300 international nonprofits globally, and they come to our Ridgeway office, and occasionally they'll go to our Kathmandu office and do a separate audit of that. So those are the three ways. And so the term we use is we count every rupee, and every rupee counts. So now I'd like to bring Lisa Durant on to talk about the Giving Tuesday and the opportunities around different tax ramifications this year. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. So thanks to Jim for hosting this event with dZi for Giving Tuesday. I first wanted to touch on just an about Giving Tuesday for those of you who might not be familiar with this event. The concept was born in New York City in 2012, just around the idea that we should have a day that encourages people to do good. It's now an independent nonprofit and global movement, inspiring hundreds of millions to give, collaborate, and celebrate generosity. And by this, it means giving of time, talent, money, and of course, publicity, which we know is so important for nonprofits. I think it's notable that this event occurs after Thanksgiving, when we're reflecting on gratitude, so right after we're given a chance to be generous. So about me and High Country Capital Management, I recently moved to the Ridgeway area. My family has always had a foothold here. So I was in the San Francisco Bay Area, but I was always back and forth to this area. And as a kid, we spent many times here. So it's definitely a long-time love of this area in which I came. I first learned about dZi in 2014 because of a group of people I was cycling with in Mill Valley in Sausalito, California, who were very involved in the organization. And then I attended an event and learned more, and Jim spoke there. I love the stories about the work that dZi does in Nepal. And of course, like I am very much a holistic person, so the whole organic side of the equation and what they're doing there in the clean water is really important. Backing up even a bit more, in college I'd gone on semester at sea, and there it was really a life-changing moment for me where I decided, yes, I would contribute in the United States, but I always wanted to have something that I would do beyond, and certainly Nepal is fitting for that. Last comment about dZi is that everybody I have met in this organization has just been amazing. Many of them athletes, so sort of kindred souls as well. I guess maybe that's, because of Nepal and the things that we can do there. So there's just so many reasons for me to connect with dZi. When I moved to Ridgeway and wanted to do a Giving Tuesday event, it was just a natural, and Jim made it happen, which has just been an incredible opportunity. So about High Country Capital Management, we are also local and grassroots in Colorado. We serve a lot of the small towns or ski towns in Colorado, but also Denver and Boulder. I myself am graduated of the University of Colorado Boulder undergrad, although my travels took me elsewhere afterwards. We've been in business for 27 years. We have 3 locations in Colorado. Our CEO is Jason Napoli, and I manage the investments and wealth strategies. I am, in essence, I'm a financial advisor, but with a very high attention to the investment strategies we do. I do not do model portfolios. I do customized portfolios. I suppose if someone beat me over the head and said, really wanting a model portfolio, I would do it. But it's not my preference. And that is because of the feedback that I've gotten from my clients about the level of customization that tracks to their individual needs. Our investment philosophy at HCCM is, of course, it's personal. So we are doing that customization track to client goals. We do financial planning so clients can see exactly where they are presently and how we track that to their goals in the future. Our clients, like us, are very much performance oriented, and from what I know, many of the people involved in dZi also are performance seekers. So we do seek alpha. We don't chase returns. We minimize risk through diversification across asset classes, geographies, and styles. We embrace emerging and disruptive opportunities, including cryptocurrency assets. And in that regard, we do something that I don't think very many financial advisors are doing. We have more latitude than a big firm, and certainly that I had at Morgan Stanley. So please do ask us if you're curious about cryptocurrency assets and what that looks like. Lastly, at HCCM and me personally, we try to connect purpose and passion. The way that we see this happening with clients often goes by several different names: impact investing, sustainable investing, ESG or environmental social governance investing, or personal beliefs aligned investing. And yes, there are a lot of acronyms in finance and a lot of jargon. So simply put, this means the ability that we have to customize an investment portfolio to someone's beliefs. If those are political beliefs, if those are environmental beliefs, if they are religious beliefs, if they are beliefs about women on boards, we can run the screens in many different ways. And how that happens is just in a process of us getting to know our clients and understanding if they want their investments to reflect that vision that they have. We are agnostic in this regard, so our duty is to serve our clients in interest in whatever those beliefs may be. The next slide, we're talking about passion and purpose together, and today we're talking about dZi in Nepal. I'm just going to tack on to that with some practical gifting strategies that are tax optimized. First, I thought to address the unfun part, as I call it, regarding tax. We've all heard quite a bit this year about tax changes. And in essence, what I want to cover is what is and what isn't in the proposed legislation. First off, the current proposed tax changes as it stands right now. First, a surtax of 5% on modified adjusted gross income, MAGI, over $10 million, $5 million if married, filing separately, $200,000 for trusts, effective tax years after December 31st, 2021. An additional 3% surtax on MAGI above $25 million, or $12,500,000 if married, filing separately, and $500,000 for trusts, effective tax years after December 31st, 2021. An expansion of 3.8 net investment income tax to include income derived in the ordinary course of business for those with MAGI of more than $400,000 single or $500,000 married filing jointly, and to any undistributed income from separately taxed trusts and estates effective for tax years after December 31st, 2021. A reduction in the gain exclusion on the sale of qualified small business stock from 100% exclusion to 50% exclusion for most sales after September 13th, 2021. This very much affects people in the startup community with concentrated stock positions. An increase in the cap of state and local tax, otherwise known as SALT deductions, to $80,000 for 2021 through 2030, with a return to the cap of $10,000 in 2031. Continuing on with tax changes, the elimination of the ability to roll over non-taxable amounts from individual retirement accounts to Roth IRAs after December 31st, 2021. A 15% minimum tax on corporations with more than $1 billion in profits, a 1% surcharge on corporate stock buybacks for public companies, and regarding 1031 exchanges, they will be limited to $500,000 gain per person or $1 million for a married filing jointly couple. Any gain over those amounts will be subject to tax. And now for potentially the good news for many, what's not in the proposed legislation. There's no current reduction in the gift, estate, and generation skipping transfer exemptions, no change in the grantor trust rules, no elimination of valuation discounts for non-business assets held in any entity, no change to the step-up in basis rules, no mark-to-market provisions for gifts or transfers at death, no increase in the top individual income tax rate, no increase in the tax rate on long-term capital gains, and no billionaires tax. All of this comes with a note that it is difficult to know whether, how much, or in what form any of the proposals will be enacted. It is also difficult to know if previous proposals could make their way into the final bill. It is important to review changes in 2022 with a CPA and/or estate planning attorney. Next, I want to talk about the more fun part, estate planning, tax, and giving ideas. First off are direct transfers to charity. These are direct bequests via will or revocable trust to a charity, school, private foundation, or donor advised fund, DAF. I'll talk about that in a second. The taxable estate is reduced by the value of the gift with no limit to the deduction. Deductions are as follows: cash at 100% of AGI in 2021 and 60% of AGI in 2022. Next, on to trust and giving. I want to talk about two types of irrevocable trust. First, the CRT, the Charitable Remainder Trust. It is an irrevocable trust. It's permanent. When cash or assets are transferred into the CRT, you receive an immediate income tax charitable deduction based on the present value at the time. This will eventually be given to charity. Through this, you can generate a predefined income stream, either a fixed annuity or a unit trust, for the donor and or beneficiaries. The remainder goes to the charity in the future. Distributions to the donor and or beneficiaries are taxable but spread out cap gains over years. Highly appreciated assets can be sold within the trust with no tax consequence. The downside of this kind of trust is you lose permanent control of the assets. It is often good for highly appreciated securities and closely held stock, real estate, and antiques. The second kind of irrevocable trust is the CLT, the Charitable Lead Trust. This is where the charity receives the income stream, i.e. the fixed annuity or unit trust, not the donor and or beneficiaries. The assets are taxed to the donor. The charitable deduction goes to the donor against income tax when it is funded. In the end, this passes to the charity, estate, and gift tax free. Lastly, I want to talk about the DAF, donor advised funds, and QCD for giving. So what are donor advised funds? These are private funds administered by a third party, and it manages the donations on behalf of the organization, family, or individual. These are private funds for philanthropy. You can donate as low as $5,000 of an amount. And currently, with the cash donation, 50% is applied to AGA, 30% of AGA for securities. The funds can be held indefinitely, which can also sometimes be seen as a negative. The DAFs can accept non-cash assets such as stocks, mutual funds, bonds, complex assets, private S&C Corp stock with fewer transaction costs. Limited partnerships, LPs, can avoid cap gains and get immediate fair market value tax deduction. DAFs can also hold cryptocurrency assets. In 2020, the funds held in DAFs amounted to $141.95 billion. This number is only increasing. So what are the kind of giving options with DAF? Currently, there are 3. One is via community foundations, which there are currently 70, usually local. 2 is through national foundations, in which there are currently 30, often offered through financial firms. And lastly, there are public foundations. As an example of the type of complexity these kinds of DAFs can offer, Fidelity alone received $28 million in crypto assets in 2020. Lastly, the QCD, or Qualified Charitable Distribution, goes direct from an IRA to a charity. It's excluded from taxable income. You must be 70 and a half years old, and it reduces the tax on RMD, with a note that this cannot transfer through a DAF. And lastly, you might ask me as a financial advisor and strategist what I would be cueing my clients on for end of the year tax considerations. First, I would say to assess your tax situation individually or with a CPA. Could giving offset taxes to a cause you believe in? Are your investments tax optimized? Is there tax loss harvesting opportunities you might have available to you that you need to act upon? Plan ahead for potential changes in 2022. This means connecting with both your CPA and estate planning attorney and financial advisor. Review your estate planning documents. Are they optimized? And with that, I want to invite you to contact myself at HTCM if you have any questions on the investment side, and certainly I can also refer people to CPA and estate planning attorneys. I respect for opinions if you don't have one. And Jim's contact as well is here for DZI, both our telephone, email, and the website contacts. And lastly, we want to thank you for attending this presentation on Giving Tuesday. We apologize for any tech inconveniences with the Zoom link, but happy that you could find us here for this presentation.
And thank you so much for taking time to listen to this short presentation. And Lisa, appreciate your great explanation of what's coming down the road. So thank you all.
Thank you.